Hey Stitches, it's me Matthew, aka Fairy Godfather of Fairy Godfather Knits, this YouTube channel where I talk about knitting, creativity, and design. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I'm just gonna come at you with a super short video talking about my first design. This is the We Are Knitters classic sweater. It's the first sweater that I ever knit, and this is the Big Ugly Hat pattern that I talked about in the second episode of the Fairy Godfather Knitcast, which you can catch by clicking this. Today, I'm just going to talk about the first time I ever designed a sweater, which was for my friend Laura Trunkey. Laura Trunkey is an amazing writer who I feel very privileged to call a friend. Her first book was a YA novel called The Incredibly Ordinary Danny Chandelier, which came out in 2008 with Anik Press. And she followed that up with a truly incredible short story collection called Double Dutch that came out with Anansi in 2016. If you want to check out more about Laura and her work, just go to lauratrunkey.com. It's been such a privilege to be able to call Laura a friend over these years, and even more so when she took an interest in my new knitting hobby and asked me to design a sweater for her. I was completely overwhelmed. I didn't know if I could do it. It was daunting and scary, but I decided to just go for it. I decided to just say yes and just try. When I asked Laura what she was looking for, she first of all said that the climate that she lives in, which is on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island, that sweaters are sort of worn 8 or 10 months of the year there because, well, they don't have really frigid winters. They kind of have a very long rainy season and a very long cool season. So she wanted something that would fit under a jacket in the cooler months, but that she could also wear on its own in the sort of warmer months. And so for that, I decided to use the Holst yarn because it's 50% cotton and 50% wool. And I thought that that would be a perfect blend to give that the sort of warmth and elasticity of the wool, but also the lightness and breathability and sort of summer feel of the cotton. So that was how I chose this yarn. It's also very affordable. And I had seen Caleb of Drowning in Yarn do an unboxing video about the Holst yarn, which you can get in cones. And it just seemed like a great price point and something I really wanted to try working with. So that was how I chose that yarn. In terms of what she was looking for, the only other thing she told me was that she was thinking about something playing with grayscale, which I thought was a really cool idea. So I searched around on Ravelry and Instagram, and I actually sent her 3 sort of idea sweaters, 3 suggestions for me to draw inspiration from. And so this was the first one. This was the second one, which is the one you probably know the most. It's called the John. Cabin Boy Knits have knit it. Quite a few people have knit it that I see around YouTube and Instagram. I don't know how this happens with patterns, how they suddenly achieve a certain kind of popularity, but this John sweater definitely was one. And then the third one I sent her was this. And she actually came back saying that she liked the second one the best. So I bought the John pattern and decided that I was going to alter it and make my own chart and just sort of play around with the way the sort of triangle wedges are. I thought I would make them into diamonds, and I thought I would be able to do this whole thing. And it was too much. I just couldn't, my skill was just not at that level yet. I couldn't figure it out. And so what I ended up with, which I didn't realize till a little bit later, is actually a combination of 2 sweaters I had already knit, which is the Painted Bricks sweater by Stephen West that I made for my brother-in-law Kyle that I've shown you before, and the Cobblestone sweater by Jared Flood that I'd made for my dad, which I've shown you before. So if you look at those 2 sweaters, the Painted Bricks and the Cobblestone, you can kind of see how I ended up with the Trunkey, which looks like this. I know a lot of knitters, when they first go to create their own patterns or create their own sweaters, they worry a lot about plagiarism or copying, and these are valid concerns that we're all going to worry about. But I really lean into the idea that if your work is even one stitch different than a written pattern, it's your own. And that we, always giving credit where credit is due, we as knitters and designers borrow from each other and share with each other and give different names to the same techniques, and these traditions get passed down in different ways. And so it's really just not a case of copying most of the time. That said, I really wanted to be different than the painted brick sweater. So I did do changes. In the painted brick sweater, the size of the bricks get bigger and bigger all throughout the yoke and then stay a standard size through the body. I changed mine multiple times through the yoke. They get bigger and then smaller again. I also used a different increase style. I won't say what's in the painted bricks that Stephen West does, but I did a different kind of increase when I was increasing in the bricks. Just little things like that help to make it my own. But then you'll see like the cuff edging is just a garter ridge like on the cobblestone and the same hem. But I didn't do the side panels like there are in the cobblestone. And so there's lots of differences too. I wanted to explain a little bit about how I did the grayscale gradient on the body. And so what I did was I was able to turn 4 colors into 7. So with the Holstgarn, I got cone quantities in the darkest color, which was the black, and the lightest color, which was called putty, I believe. So I had those 2 as my biggest quantities. And then I bought 2 balls each of the middle 2 colors, which I think were slate and charcoal, maybe? So saying for an instance that my lightest color is putty and my next lightest color is slate. I had 2 balls of the slate. So I would take one of those balls and hold it double with the putty from the cone, and then I would get a whole puck's worth and wind it. So I'd get a whole puck's worth of a new color between the 2. So I could then go putty, putty slate mix, slate, and then I would do a slate charcoal mix, and then I would do a charcoal black mix. So that's how I ended up with 7 colors out of 4. Does that make sense? Anyway, so it was a very long, daunting process. Laura was incredibly patient with me. There was a whole situation where I did a sleeve in this pattern. It didn't work out. It was too tight. I had to rip the whole thing out and just do the sleeves black. And I was finally able, this past October, to deliver the sweater to her in person. And here's the picture of us together with her wearing it. She tells me that she has been loving it and that she's been wearing it all the time. And it really gives me such joy. She put it on as soon as I gave it to her and wore it for the whole brunch. And just to see it on her body, see how well it fit her, see that she enjoyed the colors and enjoyed my design, it really brought me a lot of joy and gave me a lot more confidence to continue designing and to continue pushing myself in that direction. I wanted to throw out to you, if you think this is a pattern that I should continue developing, please let me know in the comments below, and I can maybe do another video where I learn about scaling, because I don't know how to really do that yet, and pattern writing and copy editing of patterns. And I could try to push this through that process and release it later in the year. So if that's something you'd like to see on this channel and a journey that you would like to go with me on, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's always such a pleasure reading your comments and talking to each and every one of you. I'll see you next week with episode 4 of the Fairy Godfather Knitcast. Please like and subscribe. Please share with your friends. I love reading your comments. And I hope you'll all have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves and enjoy knitting. See you later. Bye.